Welcome to World Stage, and today we are here with Sergio Arispe. He's the ambassador of Bolivia to India, one of the youngest serving ambassadors in India of a foreign country. Sergio has been working towards building the relationship and tie with India here. Sergio, where do these two countries stand today in terms of their relationship?
I think we're at a natural turning point in the sense that we are a rather new embassy, but in general I think that it's a bit of the commitment that Latin America wants to have with a country such as yours. We believe that the future resides in countries such as this, particularly one that is due to place itself in the third largest market range in the near future. I think that much can be done, but I think we're at a point where naturally a country such as mine has to invest in emphasizing its presence in a country such as yours. And I think that little by little things will change.
A country like India doesn't seem to engage as much in Latin America. And then Bolivia is a small-sized country, if I may say so, when you look at a country of 1.3 billion people.
Yes.
How does one find those synergies? How does one look for those synergies? Today, what are the two main things that Bolivia sells to India, and what are the two main things that India sells to Bolivia?
I think that you've placed two questions which are rather structural in how to develop diplomatic ties and economic ties. I think that, yes, we believe that India should more aggressively place itself in Latin America. I think this has to do with structural issues that have to do with education and that have to do with our vision of the world. I think that we see each other as far-off destinations, which is rather unfriendly to the notion of globalization, particularly ones that's being championed by your Prime Minister. I think your Prime Minister is in the right place with his heart in the right direction. I think there's a couple of high-level visits to Latin America, both from your Vice President and your President, which will, in the near future, I think, bring forth greater ties. But I still believe that much more can be done in regards to India as a global power. And to become a true global power, India has to be in Latin America.
If India were to look at Bolivia as a destination, what would it be the destination for in the future if you were looking 10 years ahead?
I think that you'd be rather surprised at the level of governance, at the level of infrastructure development, and at the level of growth that the country such as mine has been doing for the last decade. I think Latin America obviously is seen as a provider of raw materials, but in the near future it should also be seen as a marketplace for Indian developments. I think we can address that further on, but I believe that the Indian, entrepreneurial vision will permit to have products which are more cost efficient and accessible for people that have lower per capitas like we do in Latin America. If you produce something that can be championing your markets, it obviously can do the same in Latin America.
So far, where has the relationship been? What has been the interaction like between the two countries? Are there enough people from both countries traveling between each other, or?
Not enough, not enough. And now I'll be very critical on our side. I think that an envoy such as me, at the age that I am at, will show a lot more vitality in that sense. I think my president did to be placed in a country such as this, because I think it requires that extra vitality. You have to be on the floor. You have to be able to make the contacts so that you entice decision makers and policy makers to come to a country such as this. Hopefully in the near future we'll have high-level visits in both ways. We've recently had a couple of ministers of state visiting Bolivia, the Minister of Railways that's interested in the bioceanic initiative that's being championed in Latin America. Little by little, I think these are ever-evolving issues.
You've come up recently with great findings on lithium. But the world is looking at lithium because I think the next wave of energy storage is going to be very, very important.
Very important.
How does India look at Bolivia when it comes down to looking at lithium as possibly a future area of partnership between India and Bolivia?
I think very positively. I've been very well received by both media and state institutions in regards to our lithium reserves. Bolivia has the largest reserves of lithium in the world. And we've recently associated ourselves with ACI, a large German conglomerate, to develop lithium-ion batteries in Bolivia. I think that India has placed itself at the forefront of its policy in how it envisions the change in the energy matrix. In what regard? You plan on having your trains, your public sector vehicles, 100% of them changed into electronic vehicles by 2030, 40% of your private fleet in EV by 2040. But can you imagine the size and scope of your market? I was recently in a meeting with the Society of Indian Automotive Makers. They're an association of businesses that create 25 million vehicles between light and heavy ones a year. Can you imagine the demand just to satisfy your market? Amazing. This is why we believe that it's not only about what you have, it's who you associate yourselves with in terms of business that can permit you access to market. India is that for us. We need to be here. Why? Because if we can have access via your Make in India policy, it's all for the best.
Good. I think there are areas of partnership between the two countries.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Sergio. Lovely talking to you.
It's been a pleasure.
And,
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you for watching World Stage. We will continue to bring you stories of different countries and how they relate to India. Welcome to World Stage.